Hello, hello. Hope you are doing absolutely fantastic today. For those of you who are returning viewers, welcome back. And for those of you who've never seen my face, never seen one of my videos, my name is McKenna. I own a digital media company called Studio SB Creatives. And today, I have a really short video. I am just going to be talking about the 3 main camera movements that I use to get me through almost any shoot. So, with that being said, and wasting no time at all, let's just get into it. So, the first movement that I use in every single shoot that I do, with no exceptions, is called the push in. You can do this movement either handheld, but it tends to work out just a little bit better with a gimbal. How it works is basically you have a scene or a subject that you want to focus on, and it works kind of like a zoom, except the zoom is basically just a lazier way to do this movement. The way that a push-in works is that you keep the subject in frame wherever it is that you want it, whether lined up in the center, that's usually how I do it, or you place it in the thirds, but most of the time your subject or scene is going to be in the center of the frame, or it's going to basically fill the entire frame. And what you do is just walk towards whatever your subject is. It's really a simple movement, but it is an absolute staple and it is an absolute necessity. And what's really cool about the push-in movement is that in post-production, if you want to do it this way, it can also be flipped into a pull-out. So essentially, it's the same movement, it's just one is moving forwards and one is moving backwards from a subject or to a subject. It's probably one of the most versatile camera movements. It works when you're shooting, I would say, just about anything, and it really doesn't take that much to master. It really just takes steady hands or steady footwork, and then you just walk forward or walk backwards. If you choose to walk backwards and do the pull out versus the push in, just be aware of your surroundings. You don't want to trip over anything and ruin your camera gear. So the second movement that I want to talk about today is called an orbit. So an orbit is when you have a subject in your frame and then you kind of move your camera around it. Now, this is a little bit different than a pan. A pan is where you are stationary and the camera moves from left to right or vice versa. In orbit, your subject is stationary and you're kind of like rotating around the subject itself. And the reason that I like this movement is that it adds a lot of dynamic movement to footage. So, a pan is just, it feels kind of stale. And it only works in certain situations where if you're trying to capture a big space in one smaller movement, I would say, such as like a landscape or a very large room. An orbit works just a little bit differently, and it works better when you're shooting just like a singular subject. I use a lot of orbiting when I'm flying my drone as well for either, shooting a house or something. So, the house itself would be the static subject in the footage, but it works just as well for landscapes as well because you're technically focusing on like a small part of the landscape is your subject, but essentially it kind of works that same way where if you're like shooting a forest, it would be kind of like focusing on a singular tree or a singular patch of trees or shrubbery or whatever, and then you're kind of rotating around it. Those two are my absolute favorite movements. And now I want to talk about the third and final movement that I use. So the third movement that I use is actually not a movement at all. And the shot that I'm talking about is called a static shot. And a static shot is basically just having your camera sitting still and everything else is just kind of happening around it. You literally just set it up on a tripod and hit record and you just wait for things to happen, whether it be the breeze blowing the leaves on a tree, waves coming in on a beach, a car driving by the frame. There's endless possibilities. But what's really cool about this static shot and that it has no movement is that for some reason it works so well with getting that cinematic look, With that being said, those are the 3 main shots that I use, and those shots will get you through just about any shoot that you can imagine. You can pair these up together, like you can do an orbiting shot with a push in or a pull out, and you can also pair these up with what's called a spin shot. I don't actually have the ability to do that because it really only works well if you have a gimbal. I mean, you can do it in post, but it's going to be super zoomed in and it just doesn't work the best. It's not doable. If you shoot super wide, it can work really well actually, but it works better if you have the ability to do it in camera, because then you don't have to worry about edges getting cut or whatever. But with that being said, those are my 3 favorite shots that I use to get me through any shoot that I do. If you like this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you want to talk about anything that I said in this video, go ahead and leave me a comment. And if you want to see more content like this, more of the adventures that I get up to in the future, or you just want to see more of my face in general, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And with that being said, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you on the next one.